everybody, so today I'm going to talk about how I started fixing bikes and how I started my mobile bike shop. So if you're interested in how I got to where I am, it's a pretty great story. Maybe not super great, but worth listening to maybe. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so how did I end up here? I'm 36 years old. I've always been interested in bikes, and my childhood bike stories I think I'll save, but pretty much fixing bikes to make money started my senior year of high school. I was 18, and I went to the local thrift store and I bought a giant hardtail with RockShox forks. It was a 90s hardtail, and at the time it was 2008, so it was old, but I was excited about it. And before that point, I only had BMX bikes. So I could take apart a BMX bike and put it back together, but I didn't know how to fix a mountain bike. So it needed new cables and stuff. So I took it to the local bike shop. I paid 75 bucks, which for me was a lot of money. And I got it back and I rode it out in the mountains. And after a week, the cables, they used metal cable ends, and the metal cable ends came undone and the housing got ripped up. And it was less than a week since I got it tuned up, and they wanted to charge me money to fix it. And I was like, well, I just paid you to fix it. So I was pretty annoyed. And the way I do a lot of things is if I get annoyed, I'll just learn how to do it myself. So I started fixing my own mountain bike, and then I started going out to Eagle Mountain where people go four-wheeling in Utah, and I started just riding my mountain bike around, and it was a really fun workout and I really enjoyed doing it. And then I needed to make money. School got out and it was summer vacation, and I went to the local thrift store and I bought a mountain bike, I fixed it up good enough, and I sold it for like $60 profit. And I was thinking, man, this is a nice way to make some money. I go to thrift stores every morning, pick up a bike or two if they have a good quality bike that's 10 to 20 years old, fix it up in the afternoon, then I play from 2 o'clock onward. And I was selling like 7 bikes a week. I had my parents' garage, I had like 10 to 20 bikes listed for sale, and the economy was pretty good at that point, and people would just come over, they'd spend $100 to get a bike fixed up by a 18-year-old kid who, looking back, it's easy. Bike repair, to do 80% of the work, it's a pretty easy learning curve, pretty fast learning curve, but to do that last 20%, it takes a lot of time to learn. So looking back, I kind of cringe at the bikes that I sold people, but I mean, they knew what they were getting. They were buying a bike fixed up by an 18-year-old kid. So I did that. I made a few $1,000s, and the next year, I'm like, the next year's 2009 after the housing crash, and I'm like, I'm gonna be able to make a bunch of money this summer. And I start going to the thrift stores. There was no bikes. There was no bikes to fix up. So the bike market just completely tanked. I don't know if you could still do it now, because 2008, it was like people weren't selling much stuff on the internet. They were giving it at thrift stores a lot. So I could find pretty decent bikes. And nowadays, it's pretty hard to find a good bike at a thrift store for less than 30 bucks. So 2008, it was 10 bucks for an old Scott or 10 bucks for an old Giant. And then I'd put 20 bucks into it, sell it for 100. So it was a pretty good little racket I had, but it only really worked in 2008. And that kind of got my itch to fix bikes. And then 2009 came, 2010, and I went to UVU, Utah Valley University. And I was riding my bike all summer. I wasn't really focused about signing up for classes. And then when I logged in to sign up for classes, like all the classes I was supposed to take were all filled. So I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do here? And I didn't know what I was going to major in at that point, but I noticed all the recreation major classes still had a lot of openings in mountain biking, rock climbing, experiential education. So all these outdoor rec classes were still pretty full. So because of that, I liked being outside. I liked recreating. So I signed up for the outdoor rec classes. And I took mountain biking and I loved it. And I had a really good mountain bike teacher, instructor. And he kind of took me under his wing. And I became the teacher's assistant for the mountain bike class that following spring. So I took the mountain bike class. We went down to Grand Junction, and then I took the mountain biking class again, and I was the teacher's assistant, and we went down to St. George, and I was hooked. I had a Schwinn Moab. I needed an Ibis Mojo at that point. That was like 2010, I think. So going along with outdoor rec, that summer I then worked as the mountain bike program coordinator for a Boy Scout high adventure camp. So I did that, and that was a bit of a frustrating, it was my practicum for my major, and I get there and I'm told that they have specialized hard rock mountain bikes for the program. I get there and they had Schwinn Walmart full suspension bikes, and the Schwinn full suspension bikes had a gigantic sticker on the top tube, not intended for off-road use. And I asked the instructor, I'm like, what happened to the Specialized? Oh, they were junk. Someone took them. We gave them away. I'm like, you gave away 5-year-old Specialized bikes and bought Walmart bikes for this program. And I was pretty annoyed. I emailed my teacher that was under my practicum. I'm like, what do I do? I don't know if I feel like ethical running a mountain bike camp with bikes that are not intended to be mountain bikes. And they just said, do the best you can. And I'm like, okay. So then I take them on some trails, and then one of the handlebars snaps in half and the kid gets hurt. And I'm like, this is bogus. So after that, all summer, the mountain bike class was just riding on dirt roads. We didn't get to go mountain biking with them. And I really liked being a Boy Scout as a kid, and then working for them and seeing that, they buy bad bikes, they give away the good bikes to their friends, and it kind of soured my experience with the BSA. But it was a really good summer, and I still have friends from working in that summer camp. Where am I now? So then I like mountain biking, I like UVU, but I like mountain biking more, and in the winter you can't really mountain bike that much up here in northern Utah, the Wasatch Front. So I decided to transfer schools to Dixie State. It's now called SUU. It's down in St. George, Utah. And I didn't get much schooling done there because I went mountain biking every single day on my Ibis Mojo, and I loved it. And I wanted a job at a bike shop. I had this experience. I knew how to fix bikes, and the economy was trash, and no one would hire me. So I'm thinking in my head, I got this nice Volvo wagon that I'm in love with. It was an XC90, 1998. It had all-wheel drive, and it had a lot of space in the back. I'm like, okay, so no one will hire me to fix bikes. I'm just going to fix bikes myself because that's what I want to do. So I put I just put posts on Craigslist, and I printed out pieces of paper about mobile bike repair and put them up places around town. And I actually was getting like 3 or 4 jobs a week, and I was making like $200 a week fixing bikes. And I'd go to their house with I wasn't set up to do like great service, but people would call me to fix their flat tires or repack their bearings. And a few times they're like, you're charging too little. You're charging too little. And I'm like, I'm making $20 an hour. I mean, I don't even know. No one was even hiring me anywhere. Like I applied to paint stores. I applied to fast food stores. No one was even going to hire me for $8 an hour. So I was pretty ecstatic about making $20 an hour fixing flats out of my Volvo wagon. And I got a business license. I titled that mobile bike repair business Zuk Bike. I just thought of a weird name that people might remember. And I did that. And then I moved back up to South Jordan area, Provo area, and I got a job at Taylor's Bike Shop, and I was fixing bikes for them and selling bikes for them for I think a year or two. And I gained more experience there. I kind of realized what the bike industry was, and for them to make their money, they're a family. They're a family-run business. They have 3 locations or 4, and they were all run and operated by the brothers. And the dad started the business. And they owned the strip malls that their bike shops operated in. And the bike shop was basically like, hopefully we make some money. Some years we're not going to make much money once we pay our children and pay the employees. And then they would rent out all the other strip mall retail spots in their strip mall. And the bike shop was the anchor. And that was kind of the reason people would want to rent next to their bike shop, because it got foot traffic into their strip mall. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do that. I don't have that type of money to buy a strip mall to keep a bike shop afloat. And I really wanted to run a bike shop. I remember when I was a kid, like middle school, they're trying to get you to decide what to do with your life. And I'm like, I just like fixing my BMX bike. I like riding my bike. That's all I want to do. And they like put it into they're like, well, what's the career prospects for this? And it's like $20,000 a year. They're like, I remember the program's like, this isn't a good, it basically was like, this is a very bad career choice. And I was just thinking, like, I don't know what else I'm going to be able to do. Like, I'm a crazy kid. I don't know what else I'm going to do. So I guess I'm just not going to make much money. I remember thinking that when I was a kid. Anyways, where am I? So I started fixing bikes out of my truck. Not my truck, my Volvo. And then that was like 2011. And then I worked at Taylor's Bike Shops, and I kind of learned the business side of the bike industry working with him. But what was weird about it was most of the people, they were either road bikers or they were just working there because it was a family-run business. And I tried to talk about all the new tech and, oh, I'm excited about this giant trance. And I didn't really fit in there. Personality-wise, everyone was nice. I'm really grateful they gave me a job. But so I took another job at a bike shop called Epic Cycles, Epic Biking. No, it's Epic Biking in Saratoga Springs. And my boss was really, really a cool guy, and he was really into mountain biking. And he was one of the first people to really get into fat biking. It was like 2012, 2011. He had a rental fleet of Surly Moonlanders, and the shop was really into fat bikes, going fat biking. And he got it in his head. He wanted to be the first person to bike to the South Pole. And he did it. So if you look him up, Daniel Burton, he's the first person to bike to the South Pole. And that was fun. And I got to kind of help run the shop while he was down in Antarctica doing that. And then I got married, and I first moved up to Salt Lake City, Sugar House area. And I got a bike shop job there at Bicycle Center, I think. And that was fun. I knew I wasn't going to work there that long. I worked there for like 8 months, and that was a good experience. And then I realized, like, I can't just be fixing bikes my whole life. I tried to do the little grow up. Greg's going to grow up. So I got a job. I was planning on going to get school for a master's degree in education or something. I didn't know exactly, but I got a job working at a school. It's kind of like a Head Start program, a school for children who have disabilities and those types of things for pre-kindergarten. So it was kind of like a preschool program for kids. It was run through one of the local school districts. And I did that for a year, and I really enjoyed hanging out with the kids and playing with them on the playground. And everyone else on the team were women that didn't like running around on the playground. So that was fun, and I was like, okay, I might be able to do something like this as a career instead of bikes, because bikes paid nothing. So I did that, and then me and my wife, we moved to Colorado Springs, and I got a job at a autism school that did behavior therapy supports. And I got trained as a behavior therapy technician. And I really enjoyed the work, but the pay was pretty bad. I needed a master's degree to make any real money. And I enjoyed that work because working with kids with autism and stuff, it's a lot like fixing a bike. It's kind of mechanical. Like, you either see improvements in the child and how they're coping with the world and how they're opening up and becoming more like themselves, or you don't see improvements. So I kind of was drawn to that, but then also the pay was awful. And at that point, it was 2016, I had my mobile idea. I did that, 5 years prior. And then in the news, in the bike industry news, there was a big franchise startup called VeloFix, and they were fixing bikes out of trucks, out of Sprinter vans. And I'm like, I had that idea. I was talking to my dad, and he's like, you could do that. You can do that. That'd be great. So he helped me get my first van. It was a Nissan Envy high top van, and I decked it out, and I got into business fixing bikes in Colorado Springs. And in Colorado Springs, it was pretty quick. It went pretty quick to be moderately successful. So I did that for 8 months in Colorado Springs, and it took off pretty quickly. And then I went and visited family out here in Utah, and I'm like, I just felt like I needed to move to Utah. So I closed my business up in Colorado Springs, took the mobile truck here to Utah, and it was kind of disheartening because I think Colorado Springs, it's a military town, so there's a lot of people coming in and out. And it's rapid growth there. So there's not a whole lot of loyalty to the existing bike shop. So when I popped up in Colorado Springs, everyone's like, okay, I'll call that guy. When I popped up here in Utah, it took a lot more work to get up and going. It took like 2.5 years to get as busy here as I was busy after 2 months in Colorado Springs. So it was it took a lot more, and during that time, it was before COVID. I was like, I got to do something else. I almost finished my bachelor's degree in recreation at Weber State, and I went to the local tech school and for half a year and worked on cars. I was thinking I was going to become a car mechanic or something else, because it wasn't picking up enough that I could make a living at it. And then COVID happened, and at the same time COVID happened, we got a call from the state that a relative had a baby, and they couldn't. They needed to place them in child protective services, and they needed to go into foster care, and if we would be willing to foster this baby. And so COVID happened. I became a father literally with 2 days notice. We went into, it was during like the 2-week mandatory shutdown where like almost everything was closed. We had 2 days notice to get everything we needed to bring a baby home from the hospital. And we were at the checkout stand at this Bye Bye Baby store, and I tell the cash register lady, we just found out yesterday. So, and I'm like wigging out, and she gives me the craziest look, like, you just found out yesterday and you're spending $3,000 on baby items? Like, what is wrong with this guy? And then my wife, she had to add some context. She's like, oh, we're fostering. We're taking the baby home from the hospital. We just found out about the baby yesterday. So then she's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, so my business started taking off so fast because of the COVID boom. I couldn't even answer all my phone calls because I had to do weekly visits and court things with foster care, and it was a pretty busy season. But then I was like, man, maybe I could do this as a career and make a regular amount of money. So COVID came, and then the next year, someone ran a red light, smashed my Nissan front end up, bent the frame, and I was out of a truck. And I saw this old Mack tool truck I've got, and it was peeled out. It had sat for 16 years, but it had a 7.3 diesel engine in it. So I'm like, oh man, okay, let's get this. Pick this up for $7,000. It had a $5,000 Mako paint job on it, put $2,000 worth of vinyl logos on it, built out the inside, and my business went another step up because this is a gigantic rolling billboard. So there's a golf course across the street from me, and every year they ask me to advertise on their park benches. And I don't do much advertising. This isn't the industry that can really pay for a lot of advertising. But I'm just like, they just look across the street and see the gigantic billboard in the front yard, you know. So this helped my business quite a bit. And now I make enough money doing this that I don't want to get a real job, but it's not really that good of a real job. If you put in the hours I work versus how much I make, it's decent. But the problem is bikes only need to be fixed half the year. And of that, there's a lot of other options to get their bikes fixed. So it's a pretty competitive market to get bikes fixed. And I go out, I try my best, and every year we just kind of make it work. And every year I make it just a little bit more money than the year I made before, which keeps encouraging me. But yeah, going back to when I was like 13 and I took that test of what you should be when you grow up. Oh, you should run a bike shop, but that pays horrible. And yeah, so that's how I became a mobile bike shop owner. And now I've got this YouTube channel. I'm thinking I can give people some good knowledge and entertainment, and we'll see how this goes. It's kind of just, before I started this channel, I was like, am I crazy? I just bought a DJI action cam. I spent like $500 on this camera and this film equipment. I'm like crazy because I'm like, how many people are gonna watch a YouTube video? The success rates are really low, and I was asking ChatGPT, and it's like 0.001% chance you'll be able to make a living doing this. And I'm really grateful everyone's decided to watch some of my videos, because now it says I'm in the top 2% of new channels in the cycling niche. So I'm thankful for everyone who's subscribed and done that. But then also, I'm like, okay, well, what's the odds, now that you've seen my success rate now? I asked ChatGPT, what's the odds that I can turn this into a reliable source of income? And it's like, well, you need 50 to 100,000, and you have about a 10 to 20% chance of getting to 50 to 100,000 subscribers. But if I never tried at all, it would have always been a less than 1% chance. So now that I've tried, I've got a 10% chance to make it. I'm gonna be shooting other videos out of my truck. I don't know if people are gonna be as interested in those. Today I'm going out to Antelope Island, and I'm gonna ride out there and show some clips. It's gonna be just a short video, so that's gonna be my next video after this. And I'm thankful for everyone who's watched. And this right here is my Turner Nitrous, and right now it's got a 140 millimeter fork on it. I just ordered from China a custom titanium rigid fork that's going to take this place, and I'm going to turn this bike into a modern, they call them now ATBs, all-terrain bicycle. So I'm going to turn this into a modern all-terrain bicycle. I could take it mountain biking. It'll beat me up a little bit, but it can go on dirt roads and go anywhere I want it to. So yeah, that's my Turner Nitrous. I've had this bike for, I think, almost 4 years. It's my favorite frame, my favorite bike I have. But yeah, so that's Greg, Swift Fix. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's my rant. I hope it wasn't too long.